Hello, everyone. Welcome to another short video, this time on illusion and the discussion of Plato's Allegory of the Cave. Um, so I'm sure all of you are aware that the ancients were, a lot of them, were quite prolific and quite intelligent in order to figure out the origins of many of the things that we perceive and understand. And so the first time I read Plato's Allegory of the Cave was a number of years ago. And I remember thinking to myself how astute Plato was. And Plato was a student of Socrates. Socrates also taught Aristotle, who ended up teaching Alexander the Great. So we see a lineage that is perfectly aligned with building upon each other's philosophical premises. So Plato did write things down. Socrates was the only one who was an oral historian or an oral philosopher. In Plato's Allegory of the Cave, he positions the idea of illusion perfectly in order to describe how it is that what we see or what we perceive may or may not be an illusion. He posits that if you think about someone being born in a cave, not knowing anything of the outside world, and being tethered to where they sit with their heads affixed to a blank wall, and not being able to see each other either. And there's a fire in front of them and there's a fire in back of them. So what happens to these people as they continue to grow is that they start to see shadows of things on the walls, and they are told what they are. For instance, we do shadow puppets. When you go like this, you know that that's supposed to be a bunny. So that's what you're told a bunny is. Much like our modern day movie studios, where we agree that we are going to go in and see illusion because the things that we see on the screen are not real in the world. They are only images thereof. This is what the Allegory of the Cave brings out. In a time when there was no movie theater, there was no other way to describe this sort of phenomenon. So what happens is, he says, if you've been in there your whole life and you were told pretty much that this meant this, these shadowy drawings on the wall were representations of your life and the illusion of your life, a bunny or a cow or whatever it was. If you were untethered after a period of time and taken out of the cave, then you started to see things out in the real world that you did not ever see before or perceived to be those things. And then we're told that those were the very thing that they saw in the cave because it was the representation thereof. In other words, you learned what a bunny was from the shadows. Then you go outside and you see this thing hopping in the grass with long ears, and you say, what is that? And someone says, that's a bunny. And you say, no, that's not a bunny. A bunny is, this representation that I've seen all my whole life. But there's no other way that this person would know, because this person hasn't had the experience or the ability to see past the illusion. I think this is so relevant today. And what is a little frightening for me is the idea that we already have people who buy into the illusion of things. They hear something over and over again, and they become completely engulfed in the reality of it to them. Whereas for the most part, there's a lot of illusion. This can be anyone, really, for any reason. It doesn't have to be just, whatever is said in a presidential debate or a political system. But what is so important is that we can all have illusion. And whatever we see and we perceive it becomes our reality. But at the same time, if we can't believe what we see, or if AI changes things such that you hear a voice and you know that voice to be someone, but it was copied, or it became what it became afterwards, then illusion is going to be just so much bigger than we ever could have experienced it in the past. We then have to ask ourselves what is real and what is not real. I was reminded of this fact last night at the grocery store, because as I was checking out of my checkout line, I could hear a young boy that was being a clerk talking to a customer behind me, who said, "Did you hear about the UFO that crash landed in Las Vegas this weekend?" And the lady said, "Oh, right, sure it did. Yeah, right." And so I turned around and I said, it did. And she looked at me like, right. And I said, well, she said, "What did they look like then?" I said, "Well, I wasn't there, but they tell me that it was a 10-foot tall UFO. I'm sorry, not UFO. It was a 10-foot tall ET, and it was white and quite illuminated." And they said, right. And I said, "Of course, I have seen a UFO before, but it was a while ago." And she went, right. And I said, "You don't have to believe me. You don't have to believe me." And as I was driving home, I thought, I didn't believe Donald Trump would ever be the president of the United States. I didn't think I had that to worry about. But have a wonderful day.